Take this!
Come on! Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of the world, I am George Massey, here today to say 10 things that sucked about Alien Covenant. Now, first of all, I'll just say that I was a fan of Prometheus. I am a fan of the original Alien saga, but this film was disappointing for various reasons. So let's just get this ball rolling and get straight to it.
Number 1.
The characters. The characters sucked. They were not relatable in any way. They were so unmemorable. There was a point where Danny McBride's character finally is descending towards the planet after being stopped by that storm cloud, and he is told the news that his wife is unfortunately tragically dead, and he's emotionally obviously cut up about it. And I was sitting in the cinema going, who is his wife? I don't even know who she was. I've got no idea. I mean, the thing is the characters were just like cardboard cutouts with no personality, with no appeal, with no relatability. If you go back and watch the original Alien, a crew of space truckers, right, just kind of doing odd jobs, they are so much more relatable so quickly.
I don't want to talk about what it's made of. I'm eating this.
It only takes about 10 seconds and you're like, yeah, I like these people. But in this movie, it's like you just don't care about any of them. Ironically, the most likable, interesting, well-rounded character in this whole movie is Fassbender's character, who's a fucking robot.
Number 2.
The planet was obviously Earth. It's supposed to be another planet in a faraway galaxy, and yet it's just like, okay, that's Earth. A friend of mine said when it finished, he said that as soon as they stepped off, he was just thinking, I wonder what part of maybe Australia that is. I mean, it is obviously just Earth. And if you go back and watch James Cameron's Aliens as a good example of landing on a foreign planet, Aliens only cost $17 million. Was a low budget film by comparison to this. But mainly it looks different. It looks like they've landed on another planet in outer space. This just looks like Earth. And I know that that was supposed to be part of the kind of curious appeal. There's almost a Ray Bradbury throwback, because if you've ever read Ray Bradbury's Martian Chronicles, there is a brilliant story in that book where humans go off to Mars and they land on a place that looks just like a small American town, and they're like, how can this be here? But this is nowhere near as interesting as that story or that book. And another thing is, they just get off the ship without wearing any masks or suits, and not one person objects to this. You're landing on a foreign planet and they're just like, well, it seems kind of like Earth's atmosphere, and they just get off the ship. Like, talk about a lack of personality. At least one person on that ship would surely say, hey man, there ain't no fucking way I'm getting off this ship without wearing a spacesuit. Like, you have to be out of your mind to just walk out without any hesitation. And obviously, what is the reaction? Well, they start fucking dying because spores are coming out of plants and things. Like, no shit. You evolved to adapt to Earth's atmosphere. Human beings have not evolved for a few 100,000 years to get off a ship on a foreign planet and just walk around without a spacesuit. I mean, it doesn't bother me that that happened. It bothers me that nobody actually objected to it. It was a script problem. Somebody should have at least said, I'm not getting off that ship without a suit on. You have to be out of your minds. And the other ones could have been kind of the risk takers who say, whatever, I'm going to try it, I'm going to risk it, and they suffer as a result of taking that risk.
Number 3.
The actual spores that come out of those plants and go into one guy's ear and another guy's nose are so deadly, so threatening, so dangerous, that they actually make the alien character mediocre by comparison. You're just like, well, that's far more frightening than the alien. And if Fassbender's character wants in some way to actually get rid of humans, why not just go with the fucking spores? They're much better than the aliens. All you have to do is just release them like a little bit of dust and everyone's fucking dead. Like, it is so much more dangerous. So the actual arch villain, the terrifying thing that we all came to see within the first few scenes is like, well, actually the alien's not that bad because those spores are much worse.
Number 4.
The alien, or aliens, looked bad. The CGI was bad. It was so recognizably CGI, which is a problem for a few reasons. One of them being that the original Alien and Aliens, the aliens look so amazing. Those models are so incredible. They've become so iconic. They are stamped into cinematic history that to create something now in 2017 that looks worse is really quite inexcusable. When the first alien rises up out of the captain's chest, I honestly thought that it was gonna start dancing. It kind of raises his hands a bit, and Fassbender's looking at it like, oh, my creation. And it's sort of just like, I honestly thought it was gonna start dancing.
Hello, my baby. Hello, my honey. Hello, my ragtime gal. Send me a kiss by wire. Baby, my heart's on fire.
Also, in regards to the actual alien itself, obviously they put in the famous rattly sound of the alien, but the sound in the movie was actually not that good. The sound effects were good, the scale was good, but if you go back to the original Alien and Aliens, there's an incredible attention to detail to make certain things sound unique, interesting, and memorable. The sound of the flamethrowers sound amazing. The sound of the pulse rifles. Everything has this very precise detail. Even in the first Alien, no one talks in the first movie for like 8 minutes, but what you get are like the sounds of the computers coming on. So for 7-8 minutes, you'd get nothing but sounds in the first movie. But in this, there is no real attention to detail in that regard. Nothing has an iconic, unique, memorable sound.
Number 5.
My God, the plot was so convoluted and so meandering and so confusing at times. It was just sort of like, I don't think many people actually even care. Now, if you go and watch the original first Alien film, the part of the fun is the mystery, that is the intrigue. It's a bunch of space truckers going through space, landing on a foreign planet, and they don't know what's there. And ultimately, you know that there's going to be some kind of alien, because that's the name of the film. But you don't need to explain the history of the alien and where it came from in such meticulous and confusing detail. Like, imagine if they did a sequel to Jaws, and they were like, we're gonna show who created the shark, and where the shark came from, and how aliens actually came to Earth to plant the shark in the water. And it would be like, well, that changes the whole movie, because the whole point is you're afraid of a shark, and it makes people afraid to go into the ocean because it's a shark. But then if it's like, no, aliens made it, and human beings got into wars about it, and all of this stuff was pre-planned, then it's like, oh, it's not just a shark, it's something else. And that changes the vibe of the movie, which is what happens in this. It changes the vibe of the original Alien saga. Now, I'll just say before I move on, obviously not everything is bad about the movie. There are some good things about it. For example,
Number 6.
there was no build-up or anticipation in the movie. Things just kind of happened. There was no momentum. There was no silence before the storm. If you go back and watch the way Spielberg directs films, think about when the Tyrannosaurus Rex appears in the first Jurassic Park. The way there's the anticipation with the ripples of water in the cups, or you see the fence starts to snap in the background, so you know that this Tyrannosaurus is coming, but it isn't revealed. There's none of that in this. Everything's just sort of like, oh, here it is. Like if Spielberg had just said, here's the Tyrannosaurus Rex, you'd be like, okay. But there is no anticipation. Now, if you go back to Prometheus, there's the scene where the guy is infected with the alien DNA.
Big things have small beginnings.
And he doesn't know it yet, and you, the audience, don't know what's going to happen, and it actually unfolds in a dark, frightening way, because you are genuinely like, I don't know what's going to happen to this guy, and that's the appeal. That's what's scary about it. In this movie, you got those spores, and they go into people, and within like 5 minutes, the alien is bursting out of them, and it's like, okay, there was no real time to be afraid, to be curious. It just happens, like, there, and the alien's out. So there's a lack of delay, there's a lack of patience, there's a lack of anticipation in the actual structure of this movie.
And now, imagine this.
One way, for example, that anticipation could have been added in is, imagine this. There's the scene early on where you see them using those magnetized boots to get around the outside of the spaceship, and at the end of the movie, the girl goes out onto the platform of the Covenant ship, and she has to run back and forth as this alien is underneath the ship. And this is a good scene. It's not an amazing scene, but it's a good scene. But I was thinking, why didn't you use the magnetic boots? If she'd have hooked those magnetic boots to herself, so she's standing on the ship, right, then it would have been like, oh, okay, you're bringing something back from the beginning of the film. And she could have stood there with the gun, right, magnetized, and then imagine if the ship had descended, like it's starting to head towards the planet. She's stuck on this ship as it's careening towards the surface of the planet, and then on the end of it, the alien climbs up and starts to climb towards her, cameras behind her, right, she's looking down, and this thing is literally climbing up as she's falling down, and she's stuck there with this rifle, and she could be shooting at it, and then click click, the gun runs out of bullets, and you're like, oh shit, how many things can possibly go wrong? Okay, and then in that moment, then that crane could come out and get the alien. But there could have been some kind of anticipation, something exciting. Instead, it's just like she gets out, she runs around a bit, she gets that crane thing, she grabs the alien, and it's like, yep, but there was no build up, there was no silence before the storm, and it really significantly lacked excitement.
We'll return after these messages.
YouTube has thousands of channels, many of which have millions of subscribers. You are currently watching a small channel with almost no subscribers. Give a guy a break, huh? This stuff takes work. Go on, hit that big red button. Only cool people are allowed to.
Number 7.
There's a scene in it where Michael Fassbender is with Michael Fassbender, and it's supposed to be really impressive that you have the same actor opposite himself, even though this was done in Back to the Future 2 a long time ago.
He's a complete wimp.
And the thing is it's made so apparent, like there's this scene where the camera rotates around the two actors going back and forth.
I'm absolutely obsessed with this one particular shot in the film that blew my mind. When David and Walter are sitting there together playing the recorder, and you have this long, continuous, amazing shot as the camera's going like this. The purpose of going around like that in that shot, that was a brilliant movement.
It's just completely takes you out of the film. It took me out of the film because I'm just thinking you're just showing off the fact that you have this special effect. Well, it's not that impressive because David Fincher did it in The Social Network. There are twins in the movie The Social Network who are not actually twins. They're both played by the same guy, and that's amazing, and I had no idea that they weren't actually twins because it's so seamlessly done. But in this movie I was like, well, he's just showing off that he can do this technology, and it just is like jarring, it's annoying. Also, it's supposed to be really impressive that he plays the recorder and he already knows music because he's been programmed with it, and it's like, it's a fucking recorder. Like, they give recorders to kids. That's not impressive. 5-year-olds play the recorder and some of them pick it up and do it quite quickly. This is not something that I'm like, oh wow, amazing. Why not have a piano, okay? And he sits down and plays piano. There's a famous piece of music that he is supposed to be fascinated by, to the point where the music is in the beginning of the film, and at the end of the film he requests it from the Covenant ship, and he's walking down that aisle as this celestial, most classical music is played to him. So why not have him play that song on a piano? That would have been much better, and it would have rounded that character off better. It also would have made the end of the film better when he asks to have that music played. The other thing is, on the recorder he plays the theme from the movie, which also just takes you out of the movie. It's like supposed to be like, haha, that's cool, isn't it? Yeah, he's playing the theme from the movie that you're currently watching, and it's like, no, that's not good, because it's just like, disconnect. now I know I'm watching a movie. Not cool. Then later on, Fassbender has a martial arts kind of a fight with himself. It seems like it's in the wrong film. It actually felt like I was watching a mirror match from a Mortal Kombat movie. And then he kisses himself, which, I mean, I'm not critical of it. I sort of thought it's maybe trying to be deep. It's supposed to have a deeper meaning, but it just seemed a bit strange. I mean, if this character is a synthetic human robot with no real empathy and emotions, why would he love himself if he doesn't love humanity? Why would he love himself in that kind of a way? Like I said, it seemed like it was trying to have some kind of depth, but it just came across as a bit strange.
Number 8.
What was up with the solar panels on the ship? It was a really cool design. It was aesthetically impressive when you're in the cinema, but there's this thing where it's like, so the solar panels get damaged when the ship goes through like a solar storm or a cosmic storm, but then it's like nothing fucking works on the ship. So Danny McBride has to go out there and sort it out, fix the problem, and then everything comes back on. And it's like, that's the worst fucking design in the universe, to have a spaceship that depends upon solar power. Like, what if the ship flies along the dark side of a planet? Well, all of a sudden it's not going to work? That's bloody ridiculous. It is such a dumb design. Now, also in regards to how badly designed this ship is, there's a point where you got most of the crew on this planet, and then you've got the Covenant ship up above a storm cloud, hearing transmission from their crew who are desperate for help, and the ship is like, we cannot get too close to the cloud because it's dangerous. And you've got the characters on the ship saying, no, we can't go through the cloud, we can't get through the storm, we have to wait it out. And it's like, this fucking ship can travel through the universe, travel billions of light years, but it can't get through a fucking cloud, a storm cloud. And let me tell you something else, if it can travel across the galaxy, why can't it just go over the cloud? Just cloud here, ship just goes, just go around the cloud, and then we'll go down. Right, is it really that hard? Surely not. Not if it can travel through the vast, infinite velocities of space. It's like the worst ship ever. And then the other thing is, I'm sitting there thinking, well, in Aliens, when they drop the ship at the beginning to land on the planet, they fall through a fucking cloud. And you've got Hicks and Bill Paxton going, whoa, yeah, like having a great time, just dropping through a cloud.
We're on express elevator to hell, going down.
But in this movie, it's like, no, the ship will fall apart. We can't go through a cloud. Well, sir, why don't we just go around the cloud? Well, no one on the ship was smart enough to think of that. I mean, fucking hell, on Earth, a plane can go through a storm cloud. It's called turbulence. But this, a spaceship in fucking outer space, can't get through a cloud on a planet with an atmosphere that is supposed to be the same as Earth.
Number 9.
So at the end, they blow the alien out the back of the ship by opening up the doors, and everything gets sucked out, just like in Aliens. But correct me if I'm wrong, right? But how is it that everything gets sucked out, including the enormous kind of space tank, right, gets sucked out, and yet the actors, the guy and the girl, are just standing there. They're just standing there, like, kind of congratulating each other, like, we made it. And it's like, why don't you get sucked out? I mean, the power is so severe that the alien gets sucked through the glass at one point, smashes its head through it. The girl is holding on to something. But then, by the time the alien's sucked out, they're just both standing there.
Number 10.
To summarise this, of course Ridley Scott is still somebody who's given us some incredible stuff. He gave us Alien, he gave us Blade Runner, he gave us Gladiator, and I sort of wonder if to some degree, because Prometheus was not that well received, and he obviously was passionate about making that film, there's a quote that I read in Charlie Chaplin's autobiography once, where somebody said to Charlie Chaplin, when you began your career, it's like you were dictating to the audience. You created things and we flocked to see it. And then after a while, when you tried to change your style, your audience began to dictate to you, saying, we want you to do it like you used to do it. And he said he had to realise that it was the wrong move. That ultimately you have to do your own thing, you have to do what you're passionate about. You cannot really listen to your audience because you'll never really be yourself. And this movie has a little bit of that feeling. It's like when Ridley Scott made Alien, he was dictating to the audience. He's like, trust me, you want to see this. And then when he made Prometheus, there was still an element of that. Like, trust me, you want to see this. And then the audience said to him, no, we just want to see Alien. And then he was sort of like, well, I'd kind of like to carry on Prometheus, but if people don't like it, okay. And it sort of sounded like he listened to his audience. Instead of dictating to the audience, he let the audience dictate to him. And what you got is a bit of a mess, which wants to be Prometheus 2, but it also wants to be Alien, and ultimately it's neither. And it would have been better if he just kind of carried on Prometheus. Or maybe the problem is just that Dan O'Bannon, who wrote the first Alien, didn't write this. Or maybe the problem is that they just didn't get somebody who's good to write this. Anyway, that's that. That's 10 things that aren't good about the movie. No, it's not the worst film ever made, but it should have been a hell of a lot better. It should have been much better thought out. It should not have had these mistakes in it. They could have sorted these mistakes in a matter of hours on the script if they'd have just ironed it out, fleshed it out, fixed the problems. It wouldn't have been that hard. Just fix the script before you commit to putting this enormous spectacle on the silver screen. Anyway, I hope you're all well. I'm George Massey. Hit subscribe, hit like if you like this video, comment, let me know your views and opinions. I'm happy to hear them. Take care of yourselves, be well, and there are other reviews on this channel and the reviews are coming in frequently. See you soon. Peace.